how you are the placebo and how the mind and the body influences each other. Hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how, as people, there's so much going on with ourselves and how our thoughts influence ourselves and how actually we are the placebo. And it's a strange title because this title is actually taken from a book that I'm currently reading called You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is an amazing guy. He is, so if you read his backstory, he's recovered from some pretty traumatic injuries through the power of, not science, but through the power of using the mind and the thoughts to heal himself. And whilst that sounds a bit woo-woo, he's breaking it down in the book in a way where it makes a lot of sense. And I think for people, we're always asking questions, and if you're like me, then you're always wondering how things work, and self-development being an important factor of it. How can I learn more, and how can I make myself a better version of myself? And right now I'm reading his book called You Are a Placebo, and there's a lot of theories and a lot of interesting thoughts being explained in the book. And one of the theory or explanations is how essentially how our thoughts and our mind literally affects our experiences and our makeup and our personalities in a sense, and how if we want to create a different future, a different outcome, we need to start thinking differently. And his previous book is called Breaking the Habit, so it talks all about how to create habits and how to break your existing habit of your current self. But this follow-up book kind of dives deeper into that and explains the mechanisms behind what actually makes you a placebo. And in essence, and I'm not finished with the book yet, I'm still in the beginning stages, but in essence, the introduction is very interesting and gave me a lot of thought, a lot of thoughts to think about when it comes to what makes us who we are and how people can change, right? And how important that change is if you want to live a life that's more holistic, feel more fulfilled, with more happiness, more gratitude, with more positivity, more inner peace, more happiness, like I said. But it all starts with the mind. And to understand that, if you do understand the reason why the mind has such a big effect on the body, it makes a whole world of difference, especially for myself and the way that I think. And I know that I like to go into the details and understand why things work and why things happen. Why do we think the way that we think, and what repercussions occur when we do think a certain way, whether positive or negative. And I think in these scenarios, we generally use thought in a way that might be negative. There might be traumas that you might have that manifests into certain characteristics in your day-to-day life, and even the way that you think, feel, is dictated by those experiences. So one of the things that he talks about at the start of the book is how if we keep thinking the same thing that we do on a day-to-day basis, and that becomes a habit, then basically we give ourselves a feedback loop that essentially makes it so that we never change, right? So one of the sayings in neuroscience is with your brain, nerves that fire together wire together. And in this sense, when we do things out of habits, it just gets reinforced. So maybe you have a negative habit of doing certain things, like think of an example, maybe whenever you get stressed, you will go smoke, right? So smoking becomes a habit as a response to being stressed, right? And over time that becomes automatic, autonomous. So it talks about how your body through thought do things that is autonomous, and essentially if you were to take it further down the line, it means that the mind and the body is integrated in a negative way, not in a positive way. When usually I talk about integration of the body and mind in a positive sense, where you have balance. In this sense, it's talking about how your brain, because it creates chemicals during thoughts, so whenever you have a new thought, it creates new synapses to be fired, and that creates chemicals. And how that works is when these chemicals are released from your brain, then it goes into your body, right? It goes into the cells of your body, and essentially these chemicals create feelings throughout your body. And the crazy thing here is, that makes so much sense, is whenever you have, let's say, emotions first it comes to thought. When you have a thought, let's say, of a negative experience that you've had. So one of the experiences that he uses as an example in the book is the fear of public speaking. Maybe you've had a bad experience when you were younger, when you had to do public speaking and you completely bombed. You feel embarrassed, you feel inadequate, lost all confidence. Then you start to associate that thought with the feelings of inadequacy or being scared or being embarrassed. You think it's a bit silly. So those feelings going into your body would release an emotions, and in turn those emotions from the body would then feed back into your thoughts, because you'd be associating the negative emotions with the thought that you're just thinking about. Fear of public speaking as an example, and that again reinforces more chemicals, because that thought being released into your body, which creates a negative feedback loop that enforces that you don't like public speaking, you're scared of it. And what that does over time is it strengthens those neurons in your head that associate public speaking with fear. And over a long period of time, of the stuff that you tell yourselves, like I'm too shy, or I'm a bad speaker, the negative word that you use essentially becomes subconscious, right? And your body will react subconsciously to those words, which eventually will influence your mind and give you, in a sense, limitations. Give you limitations on what you believe about yourself, right? And that's a negative form of thinking about things in the past. And the more you think about it, the more you're stuck in the past, because being in that mode of mind, being in that thought, means that you can't change out of it. It's very hard to break outside of the circle by yourself, right? Because if something becomes a habit and becomes automatic, then you don't think about it, and your body reacts to it, which gives you these negative thoughts or negative emotions. So how do you actually break out of this cycle? Well, that's more for later in the book, but at this point in time, at the stage that I've read up to, it talks about how you have to change the way you think, and that changing the way you think needs to be stronger than the external factors that are from outside, and also internal factors that comes from within, right? And in this case, I was talking about the body and the mind are creating feedback loops, because if you don't change the way you think, the results will always be the same, and no change happens. So there needs to be something there for you to overcome the programming that you programmed yourself, which is why the whole reason of talking about placebos, you being the placebo, is essentially you are giving yourself a placebo to react in a certain way, like the negative self-talk that you do, the unself-belief that you have, are all things that you are auto-suggesting. You're giving yourselves auto-suggestions and believing in it, and it's kind of like, in the way, it's the opposite of hypnotizing yourself to believe that you can't do certain things, rather than using it positively to say that you can, right? And that's the whole meaning behind why he says that humans, people, are walking placebos, because we're constantly going through life repeating past events in our heads or drawing from past experiences, and allowing it to affect our bodies, and in turn our bodies will affect our mind, because it comes to the point where eventually what you feel with the body being autonomous will eventually influence your mind to then step back into your comfort zone. And that's not what you want when it comes to certain things, when it comes to growth, because that would hinder your growth and your progress and your self-development and happiness in a lot of ways. What I mentioned earlier about the inner peace, the happiness, the gratitude. If you've got a lot of these self-blockers, then it's important to be aware of it and find ways of breaking out of it, which is why I think this book is so powerful. And like I say, I'm only in the beginning chapters of the book, but right now it is giving me a lot of food for thought in terms of how we are all walking placebos, essentially, and how we kind of give ourselves auto-suggestions that might be negative. But on the bright side, because I'm learning about this and sharing it with you guys, hopefully we can turn this around and use placebo in a more positive way. And if you can imagine, if you can hypnotize yourself to become whatever you want to be. So this is where the manifestation kind of talk comes in, is that manifestation works if you believe in it, and it's that belief and understanding how you can literally rewire your brain and change your brain with thought to then become the better version of yourself, to manifest the things that you want, and to, you know, go into the quantum realm, which is another thing that Dr. Joe talks about, you know, part of his researches and his work, essentially. So yeah, I thought that'll be, you know, it's interesting for me, so I'm hoping it might be interesting for you guys. I know it's a bit of a long video. I might have rambled on for far longer than I should, to be fair. So if you've made it to the end, thank you very much. You've got more patience than me, because sometimes when I do talk, I go off on tangents as my brain tries to digest things in real time. But hopefully this has been interesting to you. Let me know if it has. Give me some comments in the comments below for some feedback if you like this kind of videos. But I will definitely do a part 2 once I've read more of the book and it goes into the solutions part and showing you how you can manifest positivity and change your life, essentially. So looking forward to this. But as always, thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you like it, please like the video, share it to someone if you think it might help them, and yeah, if you ever need to talk, feel free to reach out to me directly. Always here to have a chat. So have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon.